Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into a semifinal edition of the B Team podcast, part of Jackrabbit Illustrated and Splitting Hairs podcast group. We are on the FCS FansNation podcast network as well. Catch us on all of your Spotify or however you're listening. Thank you for joining us today. We have special guests with us. Joe DeLeone here from Hack City. He's been to South Dakota before because he lost a bet. No, we won a contest and then he lost a bet this year. I would be remiss if I forget to mention our title sponsors, Drake's Place of Bottle, South Dakota, much more in a convenience store. They've got the best pizza, food, calzones, sandwiches, you name it, on and off sale liquor, and all your regular convenience store needs. If you're out in central, north, central, South Dakota for hunting or fishing, stop by on your way through, as well as Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro in Brookings, South Dakota. Best breakfast in town, as well as coffee in all the Walmarts in Minnesota, as well as online. Use code JI22 if you want to get yourself some Cottonwood Coffee shipped to you over online. Anyways, sorry, Joe. That was a mouthful.
Congratulations. That was a great read. It was more smooth than anything Sean and I ever do.
It's helpful that neither of these jackals jump on me like you guys do.
That's true. Yeah,
and Brendan's really good at talking.
I had a big mouth.
So what? I'm sure if people watched the Hack City podcast, they would have seen some of your thoughts about the SDSU Holy Cross game. I guess we can go over a little bit of what we saw. Number one, Sluka, very good quarterback. I was very impressed with him. And number two, very impressed with their offensive line. That was no joke offensive line like that. I did not expect them to come in there with that. And then lastly, just credit to their coaching staff. I think they were well prepared for us, and they threw some stuff at us that we had some trouble dealing with in the first half. So it was a fun game. It was kind of nerve-wracking until the fourth quarter, but huge credit to them. They came in and punched us in the mouth a little bit, and we had to deal with it.
Yeah, watching this game, and like we were talking about a little bit before we hopped on, they very clearly, like some of the things that Sean and I talked about coming into the week, is that there's a size disadvantage, there's a talent gap between these two teams, but Holy Cross is still really well coached. So when you're coming into a game like this, they know, and that coaching staff knows, like, hey, if we're undersized compared to this team, and it's not a type of a team that we're used to facing on a week-to-week basis in the Patriot League, we have to throw out some trick plays. Like, we have to get creative. We have to do things that they're not going to be expecting. And that's what kept them in the game as long as they did. We were also laughing beforehand, though, that at halftime, at a certain point, it's like, okay, you used all the trick plays, you used all the goofy gimmicks. That stuff's not going to work in the second half. That stuff's not going to work against South Dakota State. That stuff's going to catch up to you. And part of what we saw is, like, Sluka's a great quarterback, a fantastic quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if he's somebody who doesn't hop in the portal and maybe try to get a bigger opportunity, because he has a nice arm. He's a really good athlete. But at the same time, you were giving their offensive line credit. I think that they started to really falter a little bit in the second half, and we were starting to see those advantages that they have, that South Dakota State has along their defensive line and amongst their linebackers. They were beating up on that offensive line, and they were seriously getting after Sluka, where it just got to the point where he couldn't do anything anymore. So, no, big credit to your guys' D-line. I think that you guys really showed up in that second half.
Yeah, second half wise, and of course, this is our game recap brought to you by Dakota Iron. We are would be remiss if we didn't bring them up at Dakota Iron. They dig deeper. They'll hook you up with any sort of equipment needs you may have, especially for snow removal around this time of year, or possibly salting if you need that done at Anywhere Commercial. So, anyways, first half, I totally agree. They were throwing out the kitchen sink. They made some really good calls. They made some gambles. Most of them paid off. Some of them didn't. That onside kick attempt was something that I get it. I understood where they were coming from and why they gave that a whirl. A lot of those plays worked out for them in the first half, and they were. I think they are a better team than sometimes they got credit for throughout the season, just because we didn't have a chance to see them against the level of competition of a CAA in general, those top CAA teams, or Missouri Valley squad or Big Sky squad. It's just kind of the way that goes. But I think they did prove something a little bit in the playoffs here. They do. I think Sluka. If they get Sluka back, I think they're getting a fair amount of this team back, and they'll be dangerous again next year. I think they'd had a real chance against some of the other teams that were in the quarters. I would have probably put money on them against a couple of those teams after having seen them for sure. But in the end, I think we just wore them down. It is that played out. Not going to say I called it, but I almost exactly called it for if it wasn't for one late touchdown on that 4th and 8. I had it called perfectly. I said we'll be up by a touchdown and we're going to score one more to put it away. And then we did the right thing where they were calling timeouts and everything. So, go for it on 4th because you don't want to risk getting a kick blocked. You don't want to risk that sort of stuff. So run a quick slant that you're really confident if it's not there, don't throw it. Just take the sack and burn the clock. And he was wide open, so he takes it in for a touchdown, ruins my prediction, which that was the only part I was sad about.
So this comment here, you mentioned, we didn't get to see Holy Cross go against any CAA teams. I don't know that would have done any good this year. I guess what are
with our poor roadie guy on here.
I know that it's a bit of a reoccurring joke, and I think I even made a comment on this when I hopped on the other FCS FansNation pod with Jamie. I mean, again, they played really well. I said this, I tweeted this, and I also said it on the show. I give them credit for playing really well, and I give Matt Sluka a lot of credit. But I don't think that they would have beaten William & Mary. I don't think that they would have beaten some of the top teams in the CAA this year. I mean, they're fine, but they had to rely on a bunch of trick plays to keep that game close, and then they got beat by 3 scores. So I don't know if that's a lot of evidence to say that they could win the CAA. They're still a little bit far off. Okay, Dustin. Thanks, Dustin. I haven't heard from him in a while.
You're on here live, and Rev watches every episode, so he's gonna be.
And Garage is wrong on purpose. Just
it's garage time on this show instead of garbage time.
But what's with the hack off, jack off comments? There's a couple of these on here, and I'm trying to figure out, is that some joke that I haven't?
Because so that started back when we were talking about. I ended up jumping on the Wax On podcast. So the Rev, he's a Lumberjacks fan. They call themselves the Jacks.
Yeah,
we call ourselves the Jacks. So it was whack off, jack off. So now you're from Hack City, so it's the hack off, jack off. So
I like it.
Yeah, welcome to the party.
Love it.
It only goes downhill from here.
So you're saying that Holy Cross wouldn't necessarily win the CAA or do as well against CAA teams, but that comes with a little bias. It seems like you don't exactly like Holy Cross that much.
Well, I've explained the bias before on the show, and for anyone who's confused, when I first started doing the show, when Sean and I first started doing it, and it was for an audience of nobody when we first started doing it, because we weren't doing video, and we just kind of we were still playing at Rhode Island at the time. And the first playoff that we covered, I made a statement that Holy Cross was going to lose in the first round. I forget who it was. I think it was against Monmouth. And they got beat pretty badly. And when I made that prediction ahead of that game, all these Holy Cross fans, out of nowhere, I have no idea where any of these people came from, started shit talking me. So I now forever will hold that vendetta against Holy Cross fans, because those few people were dicks to me when I first started out. So you guys did it to yourself. But I would like to bring up though that talking about how Holy Cross could do in the CAA. Monmouth just joined the CAA. Monmouth was one of the best teams in their conference, and they were a bottom tier team in the CAA this year. I think that there's parallels to be made. I know Holy Cross may be a little bit better, but I just don't see them being the best team in the CAA if they moved over.
So speaking of Holy Cross fans being assholes,
Were there a
Sluka,
lot of them at the game, by the way?
There was a
were-
fair amount. They were decent in the tailgating, anyways. The ones I dealt with
As-
were fine, but apparently
As
Ben
far
was
as
an
assholes,
asshole,
there was
so-
only a couple.
And again, all those
And I-
massholes coming through.
We'll see mass holes and
Yeah.
Sluka, hell of a quarterback, but an absolute prick. Like the
Really?
kid. Just I mean, if you just watch him play, the way he reacts to things, and yeah, he's just a prick. And so the one thing we did talk about is whether is it just a mass hole thing and a Sluka thing and like Philadelphia Eagles fans being assholes, or is it the whole kind of Northeast? Like, are you guys all assholes, or?
It's well, actually, I will proudly
mean-
say that we're all assholes. I will say that we are all assholes. I'm not gonna dance around it, but I think anyone who knows Northeasterners, we'll be an asshole, but we're also like, I think we're nicer than some other parts of the country, but we'll be an asshole to your face. We absolutely will be. I think that Massachusetts is worse than most regions.
Yeah, to be honest, the Delaware fans, the first go around, we had a tough time with the first time they were here. They were something else, but they were all from Philly, so that was that's the group that threw batteries at Santa. So
Wait, what?
Yeah, you've never heard of
No.
that when Philadelphia Eagles fans were throwing batteries at Santa Claus on the field?
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought you
no,
were saying
what-
that they were doing that at Brookings.
No.
No.
We don't have Santa Claus in the stadium.
Okay.
I don't think they brought batteries. That's a long way to bring batteries. Holy shit. So I know the Podfather said you had to be nice, otherwise we're going to weaponize our fan base against you and send you somewhere like Dayton or
Wait, so are you?
so you had to go to Campbell. So you
Or
had to go to Campbell,
Lamar.
right? You were
Yeah.
talking and you were
Yeah.
talking about going to Campbell. And we would get creative and find like the worst fan base. But you did not have a great time. We just noticed when you were talking about it on FCS Fans Nation, you said you came to Hobo Day, and we just want to correct you. That was the marker game. So when we win it next year, you've got to come to Hobo Day because the marker game's probably the better football game atmosphere. But if you want the
better tailgating,
you want the best party atmosphere, Hobo Day is well, we'd have to hook you up with a hotel because you won't be able to get a hotel because I'm pretty sure you can't get a hotel right now for Hobo Day weekend. It's that packed.
which game is it usually? Is that technically like alumni weekend or something like that? Is that or
It's
homecoming?
Oh,
Yep.
Ends
Okay.
up
Yeah,
you and
that's our
I.
homecoming. Yeah, and it always ends up being Northern Iowa for some god awful reason. They always ruin homecoming
Or
for us,
Youngstown.
I'm sure it'll be 100 times more entertaining than the homecoming that Sean and I went to at Campbell, which I got clowned on by some people that I work with. Like, I don't know. They were saying to me, I don't know what you guys expected going to a Baptist school in the middle of North Carolina that on a dry campus of all places too. So it's like, I will never go back to Campbell University. Ever.
That's such a brutal 180 from going to the marker game in Brookings to in the Midwest to going to any big game in the Midwest where drinking isn't a hobby, it's a profession, to going to a dry campus in North Carolina. It's just brutal.
Well, I guess it's us being naive, but at the same time, I just don't know of many colleges that don't at least have. I get that football is not big there, but at least have some kind of like a party scene, like at least like bars or something. They had 2 bars and they were both empty when we went to them, which stinks. What we did at South Dakota State will never be matched. And I truly believe that wherever we go, we'll never live up to the hype of that first trip.
Oh, you're gonna hurt some Montana State fans. I know they're watching. They watch us. I know where you at, Ron. I know you're watching, buddy. We have some Montana State fans who've been they've been scouting our show, let alone the Jacks, leading up to this weekend. So this is gonna be a big game. Pretty excited about that for sure. I don't have anything else on Holy Cross. Anybody else?
Not necessarily. I mean, it was good to see the offense kind of take over there in the fourth quarter. Isaiah Davis doing what he does, stiff arming a guy into oblivion, which was awesome to see. Gronowski being efficient, Kraft making a play. I was rewatching, and that was when the game was tied. And if Kraft, it was on like 3rd and long, and it was Kraft like threw 2 guys to the side and went for the first down. If we don't get that first down, we're probably kicking a field goal, make it or miss it, and the game's still in question. But that play kind of set us up to take over the rest of the game. And so between that, and then you had Jackson Yankee making a play for a touchdown. I mean, it just, our playmakers showed up, which, you expect to see. But it was good to see. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of comforting to see the offense take over in the 4th quarter there. Otherwise, it'd be pretty concerning going into the next game. And we'll talk about the next game a little bit, but a lot of people are saying that, well, look how many yards Sluka got. Montana State's got a good running quarterback. Should we be worried? I think that Holy Cross's offensive line is different than Montana State's, and I think we'll be able to handle Montana State's line better. I think Holy Cross had a bigger, stronger offensive line, and they were able to hold some blocks and give Sluka enough time to do what he does, whereas Montana State relies a lot on pulling. They're not as big and strong, and so I don't know. We'll get more into the Montana State matchup next week, but just wanted to mention that about the Holy Cross game. With that, let's go ahead and go over the picks, which, Brendan, do you realize what happened?
He came back. He had to have come back.
Oh, I came all the way back.
Because I picked.
And it's because.
Is it tied?
It's
because of that 4th down play.
Because of the touchdown and the cover, the bad beat. Which if somebody didn't see, go check our Twitter. We've linked Scott Van Pelt's bad beats. Brendan was on there banging his helmet on the railing. And yeah, I mean, it was a pretty bad beat. The game was tied with like 10 minutes left, and he had plus 19. Usually aren't seeing that get beat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first game, Incarnate Word, Sac State, that was a highly entertaining game that I tried to stay up for, but I fell asleep at the end of the 3rd quarter and ended up missing like 60 extra points, like 8 extra touchdowns, which is insane. Incarnate Word won that one 66-63. They were the only top seed to not win. They did cover. NDSU beat Sanford 27-9 and covered. Montana State whooped up on William & Mary 55-7 and covered. And then SDSU, like we talked about with a bad beat, 42-21, and they covered their 15.5 point spread there. I go 4-0. Brendan goes 1-3, and we are tied.
You needed a miracle, and you pulled one off.
We are tied going into the semifinals.
So,
Joe, just so you probably don't know, but Brendan and I pick the spreads for Missouri Valley games every week, and then in the playoffs, we pick all the playoff spreads. And the loser will have to wear some pink like kitty headphones for a couple episodes next year.
And the winner gets to pick the background for those episodes for that guy. He has to put something in his background.
That's fantastic.
Other guys choosing. So
yeah,
I was feeling really confident because we're at the quarters and I had a 3-game lead, and apparently I just shit all over myself. So that's not great. Sac State UIW game was phenomenal. But let's talk about William & Mary quick against Montana State. That was really hard to watch. Like that was, and you could see after the first touchdown, it was like William & Mary does not want to be there.
No,
they don't even want to be in the state, let alone outside in the stadium. I think they'd have looked unhappy in a basketball court. And that rushing game pounded on them. They want nothing to do with being there, and they just threw a towel in.
Yeah. It almost felt like that they didn't even show up prepared. Like it was like exactly what you're talking about. And Sean and I described it the same way on our show, where it felt like they traveled all the way there, which is a really long trip to make as it is. And then on top of that, you're playing in freezing temperatures. The field looks like it was frozen solid, and they were kind of talking about how they had to clear it. There was that one play where Malott was sliding after a touchdown because the ground was so frozen as it was. But like coming from Virginia to go play in Montana in December, No, those aren't conditions that those guys want to play in. They very clearly looked like that they were in no mood to be there, which sucks. Like, you do all the stuff that you did during the season and then lay an egg because you're getting punched in the mouth and you're a little cold.
Did you ever have to play in any cold atmospheres like that?
The worst game that I played in, we played at Maine, and it was like 3 degrees, and it had just snowed. Similar situation where the field was like crunchy, and there was no give to it, and we had like heaters on the sideline. I was wearing three long sleeves. I was barely warm enough to snap. But I'll try to remember after to send you guys a picture of me all bundled up. I look like a fat blob because I'm wearing so many layers. But I comparatively, I know exactly what those situations are like. We lost that game, and when you're not used to playing in those conditions, it is so hard to have energy and be ready to play in a situation like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you talk to some guys from the South who, the heat's worse than the cold. For cramping and stuff at the end of the game, sure. But when it comes to like the game and you get punched in the mouth, and a team gets up on you by 2 scores and they're just going to keep punching you in the face. Now, I agree, if you're facing like a pass heavy team, it might not be as big of a deal. But if it's some built to ground and pound team, that will take the will out of a team faster than any weather on the planet. Just right now, all they're worried about is the heater on the sidelines.
And the other thing too, that people that haven't played as much football or as much cold weather football don't realize, when you get hit when it's cold, it really fucking hurts. It really hurts. Like, it hurts way more than any other condition. And if you're not ready to play and you're getting hit every single play, it just hurts so much worse every single play. If you're not used to it, there's nothing compared. It's one thing to be a little hot and tired at the end of the game, not even close to the same thing as playing in the cold. It's way harder.
Yeah, it absolutely is. All right, Ron, I'm going to address this comment. All right, how's the passing going to work when the high will be 7 degrees and 20-mile-per-hour winds when we play your passing game? This is the same offense as last year. I don't know if you mean our offense or your offense, but wrong. First off,
he was talking about our offense.
Our offense.
I think he was talking about ours. Yes.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's just not even close to correct. But we also literally live in that weather. So will it have some effect? The wind might. It's not going to be the temperature that has an effect on it, but the wind might have an effect on it. Outside of that, I mean, I'm not hugely concerned about the weather from our point of view. I'm curious about if you want to talk passing game, it's not our passing game that I'm most curious about. It's Montana State's, because especially like watching that Weber State game, when Tommy Mellott makes his throws, and he can make throws, but it's a 50-50 ball or the guy's wide open. Like, that's when his passes are completed, and it's all predicated off that run game and getting corners and safeties out of position. So and they absolutely gashed William & Mary all night because William & Mary didn't want anything to do with even being on the field. Not saying Montana State isn't also way better than William & Mary, because they are. They absolutely were. But William & Mary also wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can try to draw parallels to last year's game all you want. The matter of the fact is, SDSU players have been sleeping in their own beds for the last month. And they had a 2-week bye before the playoffs started. And so compare that to last year, and it's not even close to the same. And you almost have to throw last year's game out when you consider the path that we had to take to get to Montana State in the first place. And that's
the 25th game in that calendar year. And it was the 5th time zone that those guys were playing in. I believe 5th. Yeah. Cause we started in the Central first round, East Coast, then Pacific, then Mountain.
Right. Yeah. So I mean,
Fourth.
to try to compare those two games is honestly ridiculous. It's, I mean, you can draw some, but not much. I mean, and again, like, our offensive coordinator is different, and our quarterback is different.
Right.
So, I mean, you can cherry pick, like, oh yeah, Pierre Strong's gone, and you can try to cherry pick things, but it's just different. I don't know.
We're getting sucked into the preview of that earlier than we meant to. Ron's pulling his shit again. God damn it.
And I love Ron. People are saying
he's been getting us with this all year.
People are saying he's talking shit. He's just fired up about his team.
He's not.
I love him.
Yeah.
I hope he's at our tailgate on Saturday morning. Ron, come see us. DM us. We'll tell you where we're at, and come find us, and we'll have a beer together. But anyway, we will get more into the Montana State game quickly. We're going to pick the only other game on the slate, which is Incarnate Word going to NDSU. NDSU is a 9-point favorite. Yeah, and you're not in the lead anymore, but you were in the lead, so I'm still going to make you pick first.
Oh, this is some bullshit. Fine, I get to pick first. I get to pick who I want, and then you have to play do I play it safe and hope for it?
I mean, I could just match your picks from here on out.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. Go play soccer.
No, I won't.
Christ. I'm just gonna match you from here. You know what? Fine. Whatever. You do you, boo thing. God. I don't know. This is a tough one because it's +9. God, I hate that line. It's garbage. The good doctor, Lindsey Scott Jr. Man, that guy is been really impressive. Really, really impressive. This is very, very capable of being, I think it was 2016 when Eastern Washington went into and Sean and Joe, can you do me a favor and never say Ewu again? It makes me want to punch myself in the face with a ball.
It's one of my favorite things to do. Just like
I say it to drive him nuts because you say it.
I also say Selah, even though that's like not even close to the correct pronunciation or abbreviation.
Selah's fantastic.
Well, I co-host a show with a guy who played at Southeastern Louisiana, so I also do that to piss him off.
Awesome.
But mispronunciations are it's part of the my charm in a way.
See, the Ewu thing makes me think of that weird subsect of the internet that goes uwu all the time.
Oh yeah, like the anime people. Well,
there it is.
Sean's an anime guy, so that's part of where
is that part of where it started. That's why. Oh
yes,
my God.
That's where it
why
originated.
He needs to be here so I can. All right, we're gonna win the thing, and then he's gotta. And you guys are coming back, and then I'm gonna make him carry around one of those giant anime pillows.
Oh my God, that would be
tailgate.
Fantastic if you did
that. Anyways,
can you imagine how great it would be if he was walking down the entire hobo parade with one of those?
Oh my God.
We need to make this happen. We absolutely need to make this happen.
With parents and kids sitting on the parade to get candy, and we make him throw candy out. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Quick question, Joe. Is Sean like the doctor from Archer? Is that too obscure?
No. I know the reference you're talking about. No, he's not like that. But there's this weird sect of or like background of football players that for some reason are just really into anime, and it's usually the big fat guys. And I'm trying to think of who was the Giants defensive lineman from Alabama? It's not Damon Harrison, was it? It might have been, but he's an example of somebody. There's just all these random defensive and offensive linemen that are obsessed with Naruto and Attack on Titan or whatever the hell those shows are called. I can never get into it, but I don't know what it is with big fat guys and being into it. But it's just this weird thing. He doesn't talk about it as much as he used to, but it used to be really bad.
I'm a big fat guy and I ain't into it. But maybe it's because I'm old.
I don't think it's a Midwest thing. I think that might be it.
Oh no,
I think Full Metal Alchemist is another one. So the fact that I know another one might be a bit concerning on my part.
He's lying to us all. Look at I don't even know what it is. Whatever that even is, I mean, I'm not real sure, but maybe that's a thing.
Sean's all about Sailor Moon. Says
that might be one of the ones he's into. That might be one of the ones he's into. I don't know what Sailor Moon is, but it sounds familiar.
That was on when I was a kid on like Cartoon Network.
Some girl that runs around with that skirt or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway,
he'd be into it.
Yeah. Anyways, NDSU, we're giving them all the respect they deserve. Shade. Anyways, this could be really close, and your threats mean nothing, Dustin. I will fart bare-assed on your pillow in Frisco and give you pink eye. I swear on my life. Anyways, we're sharing a hotel room, so this game could very much end up like that 2016 game where it ends up just getting out of hand. My head tells me NDSU. I'm going to go. It's too many points, man. I just hate the points. I think UIW is going to be able to put points up on them early. I don't know if UIW is going to be able to hold up on defense like Samford did for a quarter. Because if UIW can make them chase 2 touchdowns, then they got a chance. I'm going to put faith in the good doctor, Lindsey Scott Jr., pulling it out because he does have the scramble ability, and they can run the ball really well. They actually gashed Sac State a couple times. And with this NDSU run defense, I could see that happening a couple times. So I'm gonna take them points. It's not because anybody's threats, Reverend.
Yeah, I actually am going to take the points as well. I think Incarnate Word's offense is better than Samford's. I think if Samford's starting quarterback was healthy, it would have been a little different. And if he would have played the whole game, it was kind of weird. We were talking about earlier how he came in at halftime. If he was healthy, why didn't he start the game? But regardless, my point is I think Incarnate Word's offense is better than Samford's. I think Lindsey Scott's able to have some success against NDSU, and they're able to move the ball. I think NDSU will probably still win, but I'm guessing it's by more in the 3 to 7 range rather than the 10+ range. So got to take Incarnate Word in the points there.
From a matchup perspective, I want NDSU to win. I don't want anything to do with trying to keep up with that offense of Incarnate Word. Like, we have a really good defense, but that offense is like spooky.
100%. I mean, this will end up on a bulletin board, but we talked about it and we said we would rather have NDSU win because we think we match up better against them than Incarnate Word.
Well, you guys already also beat them too, so it's like you already have that formula.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. I think we're better suited to stop an offense like NDSU than we are Incarnate Word. Suited? No, just suited.
Just suited?
Dick.
Not suited and booted?
Anyway, moving along. Let's see. So then we've got the SDSU Montana State game, which everybody's here to hear about. SDSU is a 6-point favorite. I just looked and made sure it was updated. 6-point favorite against Montana State.
Unless you're on Sportsbook Montana, then we're only like a 1.5-point favorite.
Are you serious?
Is that actually
swear to God. I swear to God. That's what I saw. They know how to get Montana State fans to bet.
Yeah, those people are probably only betting on one thing too. I can't imagine they're betting on much else.
Yep, they know where their bread's buttered. I hate that 6-point line. I don't like that 6-point line at all. This is going to be a scrap, boys. This is going to be a scrap. I don't know. I'm going to take Outsider Joe's opinion on that line. What do you think from the East Coast? After just seeing a CAA team get absolutely, well, that was like a televised crime.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And if we're just talking in terms of the line, separate from like talking like matchups and how both these teams square off with one another, I do agree that like 6 points seems like a lot. I would take Montana State to cover, but I said this on our show when we released our preview today, that I really do think that South Dakota State wins that game. But 6 points for the way that both these teams are structured, I don't think is very likely. It's possible, but it's unlikely just based on how these teams match up with one another and the likelihood that they're probably going to finish a very close game. This is going to be a very close game at the end.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Man, those it's tough. You know, you look at, I don't think any Jack fan feels really good after seeing Sluka put up the yardage he did. I mean, that's 3 games worth of rushing that one player picked up in one game. And then to have it in the quarters before you're facing a Montana State team that doesn't just run the ball well. They don't just run the ball as well as NDSU. They run it better than NDSU, and they do it in a way that's different than NDSU. If it was the same way that NDSU ran the ball, I would feel much more confident if it was a power scheme. We're going to try to bully you out of the way. That's one thing. This is more, and Matt, Chad, you guys talked about it on the A team. Their O-linemen aren't trying to blow you off the ball. They're just trying to wall you off. It's very similar option style blocking because it is a lot of option, right? It's a lot of QB read, just a 2-man option game all the time. And then they'll hit you over the top, give it to Ifonse a couple times. And they're just trying, to slow you enough that they can have their fast guys get by you into the open, and also make you make the wrong decision so that they get people out of position and creates huge holes. The difference is when Sluka ran for all those yards, he was running on a scramble most of the time. I mean, he was just running for his life out of the pocket. That's where he killed us with yards. It wasn't necessarily designed runs that he killed us on. And this defense is pissed off. I do agree. I think that our defense maybe came out a little overconfident in this one, especially on the D-line. I know we've had players say that was a wake-up call. I wouldn't feel great about that if I was a Montana State fan. But on the flip side, if I'm a Montana State fan, I'm sitting here just licking my chops going, nobody's been able to stop our offense yet. I mean, not a soul has slowed that offense down. And we're facing a team that just gave up 250 yards rushing to a quarterback from the Patriot League. We're going to eat these guys alive. That's going to be the thing, is getting them into third and extremely long and forcing them to pass the ball. And that's going to be extremely, extremely difficult to do. I think our offense should have success. The other thing, though, is Brent Vegan. I mean, he's like a boogeyman for us, man. That guy just doesn't lose against Stig. So it would be nice to slay that dragon this weekend. The talent's there. We just are going to have to make it happen. I'm gonna take the points with the Cats on this one. I do think we pull it off, but man, this is gonna be a brutal game. This is gonna be a brutal slobber knocker of a game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the nice thing is that we got that Holy Cross game, the game before the Montana State game, being able to see a quarterback that had that capability similar to what Malat has. I think Malat's different. I think he's faster, maybe not as shifty. He's got more straight line speed. Sluka was just very slippery and very shifty. But yeah, I mean, having that the week before the Montana State game is huge in terms of having our guys see that, have to try to defend it, and then have the coaches be able to see it and see what we did wrong and what we can change going into this next game. I think that's a huge advantage for us, having that Holy Cross game before the Montana State game. I do think that I think the total in this game, in my opinion, I think it would be, if you're looking to bet on this game, I think is the best play. It's 58. I think we see some points scored in this game. Mm-hmm. I can see both teams getting in the 30s. So I think over 58 is a likely possibility, because I think Montana State is a very good team. We're not going to say they're not a good team. They're very good. Their offense has been clicking all year. They've been scoring. I think they average close to 40 points, like 30 upper 30s for points. And so, our defense is obviously highly rated for a reason. But Montana State is going to get some points. However, I feel like we also will have success against their defense. If you want to compare last year's game to this one, Montana State doesn't have the defense they had. Troy Anderson is in the NFL. And that guy absolutely dominated that game last year, that semifinal game. And you don't have him around anymore, and it's a little different. So I will take SDSU -6. I think I don't think we run away with this game, but I'm going to bank on the fact that we win by a touchdown instead of a field goal.
So I want to just kind of go back to one of the things you brought up with you guys were talking a lot about having to face Sluka last week, and now we're facing the Chambers Malat duo. And I know it's been a lot more Malat lately than they've been working in Chambers as much as they were doing in the middle of the season. But Sluka's a lot better of an actual quarterback than Malott is.
100%.
Oh yeah.
I know like that's going to piss off a lot of Montana State fans, but I haven't seen really any quarterback development for him. He's just an athlete playing quarterback, which works for them. It really works for them. But to have to deal with what they did against Holy Cross was a more significant challenge from the quarterback standpoint than what they're going into this week, going against Montana State's quarterback situation. Like he's less threatening in passing situations, but I do believe he's a better runner, and they have a lot more options that you were talking about earlier, Brendan, the way that they approach their running game, because they've got multiple heads at quarterback and also at running back. And Afonso is looking so good, they are difficult to stop. But I am the big reason why I picked South Dakota State in this game is that I just think that South Dakota State has the better offensive line. They've got the better front seven than Montana State. Troy Anderson's not here anymore. And that was Troy Anderson won them the damn football game last year. Like dude was all over the place. He was stopping Pierre Strong Jr. like in the backfield and at the line of scrimmage. They don't have a guy like that. That was a second round pick and a freak athlete. They don't have anyone close to that this year. So I do like really I'm in your guys' corner this week. I would be shocked if South Dakota State lost this game, and I'm probably jinxing you guys by speaking so confidently.
Yeah.
But the last thing too is that they're definitely pissed off about last year, losing the way that they did last year when everyone thought that they were the team to beat for a national championship, and then to watch North Dakota State of all teams to then dominate Montana State. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to come out swinging in this game.
Yeah,
dude, I could barely handle being in Frisco when that happened. Watching NDSU play Montana State, I had to leave at halftime. I was so pissed off. I had to leave at half. I can't imagine how mad the players were watching that happen. Just had to be besides themselves.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of guys who didn't even want to tune in to watch that crap, and then to know that again Montana State got blown out. It's demoralizing, and for the guys that are still there, a lot of the guys returned on this current roster. They're going to be pissed off.
Right, and I think Brandon Owens asked if both get into a shootout, either MSU and UIW, do the XDSUs lose? I think that SDSU is clearly better suited to get into a shootout.
Yeah,
I think that NDSU could be in trouble if they didn't get into a shootout. I just don't have the confidence that Cam Miller can throw the ball over the field, and that if they do get behind by a couple scores, like you mentioned, I think they're going to be in trouble. Whereas I think that we are well suited and have the offense and have the firepower to be able to keep up in a shootout.
Yeah, and I think also just in general, there's more receiving threats out of any team, except we're not talking about Incarnate Word. The three teams that were mentioned in that question, like the Yankee Twins and Tucker Kraft, are heads above anything that North Dakota State and Montana State have at receiver / tight end. Like those are all three of those guys are NFL players. Tucker Kraft is going to get drafted somewhere on day 2. The Yankee Twins are, I think they got Hula Bowl invites, and they're going to be high priority undrafted free agents at the very least. One of them might get drafted somewhere late on day 3. But yeah, no, absolutely. They are the most equipped out of any team to play that shootout type game if it came down to it.
So go ahead, Brendan.
I was going to say, you bring up another interesting point comparing the receivers. The other person who killed us last year was McCutcheon for Montana State. And that dude's gone. I mean, that guy came out.
Who do they have now?
Every 50-50 ball. And I'm not saying that bad receivers, but with the style of ball that Malott tends to throw, I think that tips the balance of power in the defensive backs, wide receivers, into SDSU's favor when it comes to that. And the amount of interceptions we've gotten this year is insane.
Right. I also want to, like, talking about the type of ball that Malott throws and like those 50-50 balls, those aren't like good throws. Like they're not to force your receivers to make those plays it's not good decision making. That's not good quarterbacking. And I know I'm probably pissing off so many Montana State fans saying this. I don't know how many are going to tune into the show, but like that's
at least 2.
It's not good decision making.
There's a couple on right now, yeah.
Maybe on the replay, but that's horrible decision making. And again, to your point, Lance McCutcheon was like he was an NFL guy, and I forget if he's on a roster right now or not, but like yeah, I think he's on the Rams. Like great box out player. He was perfect for those situations. They don't have anyone that can do that this year.
Yeah, no doubt. So for those that don't know, Joe is well in tune with the draft side of things as well. Could you talk a little bit about, I mean, you mentioned the Yankees, and talk a little bit about Kraft maybe as far as the NFL prospects that way?
Yeah, Kraft is far and away the best prospect in the FCS overall. Very, very talented player, very, very well-rounded. I haven't done my final evaluation on him yet, and I plan to get to him soon because he declared and he's going to enter the NFL draft. But I would not be surprised if he was a top 3 tight end in the class, just because of, again, how well-rounded he is. He's a really good blocker. He's a really good receiver. Very, very tough kid. He fits every description that you want as a tight end. Outside of that, there's plenty of other talented guys on your offensive line. And again, the Yankee Twins are quality receivers that one of them might stick on a roster as a special teamer. But Isaiah Davis, I don't know if he's made an intention to enter the draft or not, or what his situation is with eligibility. But if he did enter, I do believe that he has a lot of talent and he is good enough to be drafted somewhere early on day 3, depending on how many other running backs are in this class. Isaiah Davis is a fantastic running back, very aggressive runner. There might be some concerns with an injury history, but just in general, very, very talented players. If the 2 highest to be drafted guys would be Kraft and Davis.
Well, Davis is just a sophomore, right? Am I right in that? Sophomore?
Yeah. He's draft eligible though. So like I've seen his name brought up like on multiple people's lists, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went back, or I know it sucks to say, but he could be somebody that hops in the portal and tries to move up. But that's just always something to consider, because draft or moving up seem to be the best options for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, somebody else asked about Zach Hines. Do you see him, maybe like an undrafted target, or?
Yeah, Hines is obviously not up to the same talent level as Kraft, but he's still a really well-rounded tight end, and he's a bit, maybe like a less athletic version of Kraft in terms of like being a good blocker and being well-rounded, fits what they like to do offensively. Hines probably a UDFA if I were to be realistic on his projection.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. Terry mentioned Davis is a junior, which shout out to Isaiah Davis's dad. I think you guys have met him before. I was down by the concessions, awesome. and he looked at me and he goes, "Hey, are you Ben from the podcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, I'm Isaiah Davis's dad. You're the only one I haven't met yet." So he's a good dude. So it was nice to meet him.
We met him walking through the parking lot on the way up to harass some folks, and he's a really cool dude. So hey, what's up?
We were on our way to. I think we're on our way to talk to the Gronowskis, actually. So,
yes, yep, yeah, we were. Yes, we were.
Which thanks again to Deb for bringing us another tasty beer. We appreciate that.
Oh, that was awesome.
Bourbon County Barrel Stout, our bourbon stout, excellent release once a year. Thank you much, Deb.
Perks of being on the podcast, Joe. We got players' parents just bringing us random stuff.
You guys beer.
Right?
We trade though.
Yeah, we do trade.
Deb beer. We do give Deb beer. It's not a one-way street.
You're trading for saying nice things about him, or you're giving him beer.
and I might give him a cocktail or two.
Yeah, no, we trade them local beers for their the beers they bring from the Chicago area.
Hey, thanks,
there she is.
Yes, thanks, Deb. She's watching. Thank you. Appreciate it. That was fantastic. So, I don't know. When it comes to this game, I think my anxiety level is going to be through the roof on Saturday. Our offense is going to need to make some big plays. And I know Ron has been screaming at us, just screaming that Malott doesn't have many interceptions. That's fine. I get it. I'm just saying, from what I've watched, it is really impressive that he does it. That he doesn't have more interceptions with the way that works out. Obviously, another Bobcat fan here saying it was Tommy's third game last year, and all those 50-50 balls got us to Frisco when they stacked the box. It's a no-brainer. And I would argue that the fact that it was Tommy's third game was actually an advantage for Montana State. Hugely, because all of a sudden NDSU had 3 weeks to game plan for him with 3 games worth of film, and it was blouses. It was over. They knew what was going to happen and had a game plan for. That is what really will kill me. I mean, really kill me is, God forbid we manage to lose this game and then NDSU gets another 3 weeks to game plan for this offense. Because part of what makes it so tough is it is an oddball offense. You just don't see it anywhere else. If these service academies and stuff and triple option teams that are bemoaning the fact you can't cut outside the tackle boxes, well, look at this and run this then, because it is incredibly difficult for teams to game plan for and stop. This is going to be it's going to be a slugfest. We're going to need the offense to put up points.
Yeah.
And, it would be really impressive to hold them under 28, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we're in the semifinals. Like, whoever we were going to play was going to be a tough game. Like, we can only have so many, games up to this point where we're like, well, we're pretty sure we're going to win. Like, that's gone now. Like, it's going to be a fight on Saturday. And, hopefully we're booking tickets to Frisco after. Somebody's got a comment for Joe here.
That transitive property does not work. Also, Holy Cross wasn't going to be – they played really good in the first half and they played a good game, but they weren't going to beat South Dakota State. And William and Mary, again, there's so many things that we talked about earlier, so many different variables that came into play for both of those games. But, no, the transitive property does not work like that.
And that comment might have been a little influenced by your hatred for Holy Cross, right?
Yes.
Tinged with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, if you had those two teams playing and it was at William and Mary and you gave me 5 points, I would take the 5 points with Holy Cross in that game, to be honest.
100%.
You're saying you take Holy Cross to cover?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
At William and
Every
Mary.
time.
At William and Mary.
No,
I would.
I completely disagree. No.
Well, you know what? Here, Joe, here's the deal. I would have a more informed opinion on William and Mary, but I can't because the CAA is on frickin' Flow Sports.
Hey, look, you're preaching to the choir. I think that is the worst negotiation that I've ever seen, and for some reason, the freaking athletic directors in the CAA, they get all hot and bothered when you bring it up, which they get mad if you complain about it, which is stupid because they're getting paid for nobody to watch the games, which sucks. Right. It's terrible marketing. It's terrible organization. It's just poor program development. It has taken them a step back. I really do believe that because nobody can watch those games, they have taken a step back because JMU and Delaware, they used to get so much attention. And then I remember when I was in high school and in middle school, like I used to like watching those games and like watch Villanova play. And I can't even, sometimes I don't even know what's going on during the season because I can't watch the damn games.
They're just being defensive about a poor decision they made, and they don't want to admit to it.
Yeah.
I agree with they've taken a step back, although Flow Sports isn't the reason why pretty much every CAA team just got swept out of the playoffs pretty handily.
I think it's because the Valley was down this year is why they got swept out of the playoffs.
Let's go with that.
Just had to get one more CAA jab in on you.
Yeah, well, we had a down year. I mean, the SEC had a down year this year too. So it's we're not gonna sit here and be like, oh, the SEC's bad. No, they only had one quality team to play in the playoffs. So it's like normally they're a very competitive conference, and we don't have JMU anymore. Someone needs to step up.
Jamie Williams thinks that William and Mary would beat Holy Cross.
Yeah, because
Jamie's bad last week.
He's a CAA hack like I am.
My new thing is whenever somebody says that CAA team would beat Team X, whoever, I'm going to need to see their Flow Sports credentials before I believe it.
Yeah, let me see your password. We're going to make sure you actually watch the games.
Right. Oh, Ariel's going to round up some cowbells for everybody, so don't even worry about your stuff. Yeah, MSU's going to bring more fans than Brookings says people. Okay. It's
how far is that trip?
It's not close.
Like
a ways.
10,
I mean, Montana's a
hours?
neighbor. Montana is our neighboring state. Yeah, they're a neighbor.
There's a lot of driving,
but that is
South Dakota through some mountains and then Bozeman.
Two-thirds of Montana, then mountains, then you're to Bozeman. I think it's 12 hours.
A really long
it's
trip.
Almost 13 hours. It's farther than we have to get to Frisco.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Which is weird.
12 hours, whatever.
It is
Depends on how
super
you
weird.
drive.
It's
Wow.
easier for
Doesn't
us to
seem
get
right.
down to Texas mileage wise than it is for us to get 2/3 of the way across our neighboring state. If that puts into perspective.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
Yeah, it takes us 12 hours to get down to
Put it in
Frisco.
Google
and-
Maps.
Geography is so damn weird, and I'm
It
never
is
gonna
weird.
pretend to understand it because which sounds so stupid and defeatist, but at the same time, it's just like the U.S. is such a weirdly shaped country or whatever. Again, that's bizarre to me though. That's the difference in
the Great
travel.
Plains and northern states are shorter than they are wide,
Right?
By half again as much. So
That
But-
makes sense.
So the thing is too, I think with you being an East Coaster, it's or just on the coast, it's hard for people on the coast to wrap their head around
Yeah,
the distances between stuff.
Right,
Because because I went out to DC and then I was in Baltimore and then I was just hitting all these
In
cities
Jersey.
like right now, like
It's
you're
like-
by everything just
it's like
right
Europe.
now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell is this? They make them seem so far away when they talk about them.
well, an hour they tell distance by time too. So an hour on the
Alright.
road to them is
Yeah,
not an hour on
the-
the road to us.
the traffic is a lot different. Like unless you wake up at the crack of dawn, you're
we-
sitting through traffic.
Do we have the ability to kick people off this thing? Jamie's comment deserves. I think we need to just remove him.
You can kiss
put him
my
in a
white ass.
timeout. You want me to put him in a timeout?
Remove him from
Put
the
user in
broadcast.
timeout. Block user.
Can we ban him from his own network?
I love it.
Jamie Williams does a great job, and we respect everything he does.
Yeah,
But I
except for
don't
that
like
comment.
him right now.
Yeah, that comment
I'm
Can
gonna dislike
go
him for a little
straight to
while.
hell.
Yeah,
Oh,
straight to hell.
Very exact estimation there. 12 hours and 43 minutes. Is that for
I'm
Montana?
sure he looked it up.
Yeah.
That's for
Yeah.
Bozeman to
Brookings
hear.
Yeah.
Brookings, yeah.
Well,
No, good for you, Ron. You guys have 1 million people. We don't. Suck it.
all right. Anything
Our
else,
old
Joe? Before we go, thanks for being
Thanks
on.
for being on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you want to tell people where to find you?
Yeah, at Joe DeLeone on Twitter and then Hack City on YouTube if you want to catch the pod. We just released our preview episode for anyone who wants to check it out. But as always, guys, really appreciate you guys having me on. It's always fun chopping up with you guys. I wish my dumbass partner in crime, Sean, would take the time out of his day to come on, but no, he's got stuff going on because it's the football season. But
JOB.
Yeah, that old JOB.
yeah. But
He's
again,
got a
thanks,
big
you guys.
time job now.
Yeah, he works for Yahoo as a podcast producer, kind of doing similar stuff that I'm doing for Yahoo as a producer for the College Football Inquirer. But yeah, no, he's
Nice.
killing it.
And you're at the
Good stuff.
College Football Inquirer?
No, he's at the show that he works on. It's the College Football Inquirer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm still at Believe in
You're at
LA.
Believe. Right,
So like
that's
we're
right. Okay.
we're a startup company, but still work with a lot of former pro athletes and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Well, good deal. Thanks again for being on. We appreciate you taking the time and chopping it up with us.
Of course.
With that,
Thanks, guys.
as always, go big, go blue,
Go
Go
Jacks.
Jacks.
Jacks.